Hello folks, get ready for the Christmas period with a free case of craft beer from Beer 52, and right now listeners to Heart and Hand can get 2 extra free beers, making it 10 free beers. All you need to do is go to www.beer52, that's beer52numeric.com/heart. That's the special code, heart, and that will get you free beers. All you need to do is cover the $5.95 for postage. Beer 52 is the world's largest beer club. Every month's case has a different theme to it. The past themes have had this stuff like beer from New Zealand, South Africa, Korea, all over the USA and Europe. If dark beer's not your thing, just choose the light option and your case will come with the award-winning beer magazine Ferment and also some snacks to soak it up. If you do change your mind, you can pause or cancel your account at any time. Just go to beer52.com, that's beer52.com/heart, and you'll get your free case of 10 beers for just $5.95 postage. So that's beer52.com/heart. Hello everyone, welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar, I'm your host as always, and joining me this week for what should be a very pleasant pod in the main, because we've got Rangers' best performance of the season so far to discuss, is first of all Colin McMillan.
Hi David, how you doing? Good to speak to you.
A lot better after Sunday. And David Marshall.
Hi, good evening gents, I forgot what time of day it is, but how are we doing?
Well, it could be any time when the listeners come to listen to this, although it won't be one of those pods that people get round to because they can't face it after a disappointing result. And it's fair to say that after Wednesday night, we were very much looking for a reaction from the team as they travelled down to Motherwell. Manager made a few changes to the side and brought in Scott Arfield, and of course, a man we're going to be talking about a fair bit today, fashioned Sakala, and it really was his day. First things first, I'll start with you on this, Dave. The front three Rangers have been playing, Morelos, Roofe, Hagi, has a lot of skill in it, a lot of ability, a lot of finishing ability, but there has been some talk about maybe it being a little unbalanced, that at the moment it doesn't quite look like Morelos and Roofe have found the groove together. But also, and I think this is a more difficult one to refute, that they don't have pace. You know, they don't have that dynamite pace, which Rangers really exposed when Ryan Kent's in the side. It gives us that option. We've got Sakala and Wright, who are the nearest to Kent in terms of speed. And it's maybe too obvious to say after an excellent win, where a lot of players stepped up and their performances were excellent. But it's not new. It's not something we haven't said on here. It's not something other people haven't been discussing. Rangers have to have that out, but we've got to have that pacey option. Somebody who can carry the ball and drive defenders back.
Yeah, you know, I can understand the front three that we've went with for the last 3 weeks, because I think if you look at it in paper, you know, Hagi, Morelos and Roofe, taken away from Ryan Kent because, you know, he's not available for selection at the moment, they're probably our three technically best attacking players that we've got. The unfortunate thing, as you say, David, it just doesn't look like it's a good fit with the three of them. The defining factor being is the lack of pace that they have, and when you're going up against teams who are going to make it hard for you, be really stuffy at the back, you know, Aberdeen playing free at the back during the week, Motherwell, you know, famously play 6 or 7 across our back line, so you need to have that bit of pace to get in behind, and that ability to mix your attack up and bring in somebody like Fashion Colin when he was on his game on Sunday. That certainly allowed us to do so. You know, listen, I'll be honest, I was a bit at the start of the game for the first half hour or so. I didn't really think it was working for Sakala. There was a lot of endeavour, but you know, things just weren't quite coming off. There were signs there, to be fair, looking back at now, out of the heat of battle. He was trying a lot, and it really was just a matter of time before it was coming off for him. But yeah, you need to take your hat off to the guy. He totally turned us around on Sunday.
Yeah, he did, along with, I thought, Colin, able support from Scott Arfield back in the side. And look, Scott Arfield, people can talk all they want about his limitations. His final ball sometimes isn't, you know, all it could be. He doesn't have a Hagi-like final ball, put it that way. But the endeavour, the grit, the gift he has is that he is a constant buzzing presence in the midfield. But more importantly, along with Sakala, the two of them will run beyond. And that mixed it up, I thought, dramatically for us. And watching the game back this morning, although Scott Arfield maybe didn't grab the headlines, he was so important to what we did. He opened up so much space for the front players. And more importantly, that allowed Stephen Davis to do what he does best at the base of a midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing with the three that we've been starting with recently is that although they're all very, very good players, they are quite predictable. And what you've got when you bring in a guy like Sakala and you bring in a guy like Scott Arfield is they've got that little bit of unpredictability about them, David. In
that chaos factor.
Yeah, the defenders just don't quite know what they're going to do. And you know what? They might not always do things that are particularly good, but what they will do is they'll bring defenders away and they'll make space for other people in that way. And I think Scott Arfield was excellent at that yesterday. And that, when you don't have Ryan Kent that's actually got the skill and the ability to beat players and do something really great to create chances, you need to do a different tact and try something different, because the other three were just a little bit sameish, and I think defenders know what you're going to get with those three. You know, Morelos is going to bully people. You know, Roof is going to find himself in great space and be there for the shot. And you know that Hadji is going to try and play balls into the box. And when that doesn't work against these big defences, you don't really have that other option. So when you bring in guys like Arfield and now Sakala, it's just a completely different dynamic, which defences aren't used to. They don't know what to do. It confuses them, and things like yesterday happen. So kudos to the manager for those changes, because they certainly worked.
Well, I had hoped that the clock's going back an hour might make the team think it was a 1 o'clock kickoff, but no, the 12 o'clock jinx, I suppose, whatever it is, but it seems to go on and on, because I thought, my goodness, this is a movie that we're seeing almost on a weekly basis, isn't it? I don't think I've even seen Star Wars as regularly as I'm watching this one. And that, of course, as Rangers started fine. You know, really, I mean, not great, but fine on the front foot, had the ball, make things happen. First long punt up the field from Motherwell, and we're a goal down. 9th time this season, Dave, we have conceded the opening goal. We only conceded the opening goal 4 times in the whole of last season. Now, it's far too often. We're conceding far too many goals. You know, that's the underlying part of that. Yeah. You don't need to be a stats guru to work that out. But there's a difference between a team working hard to break you down, and even St Mirren last week, we make a mistake, but it was a special strike. What they did for their goal was not special. It's a speculative punt. Tav and Goldson delay, get confused who's dealing with it. Goldson eventually goes to deal with it, and then there's another mistake there, because he should head it back to Alan McGregor, and instead he heads it out for a corner. Another Edgar theory, unnecessary corners always lead to goals. Happened here, happened again for Norwich. I noticed yesterday as well, they scored when Leeds goalie kicked the ball straight out of play for a corner, and the defending at the corner was awful. Leon Balogun, who was otherwise excellent, loses his man completely. Header comes in, Alan McGregor gets a save, and there to tap it in was Mugabe. And again, you're just watching it and go, so easy. It's absolutely, you don't need to do anything. It's a standard corner, standard running header. Good following in play and a decent finish from Mugabe. Credit is where it's due, but they didn't exactly have to do something extraordinary to breach our back line. And again, you know, start 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes going fine. You're building up your play. One attack and it all goes to hell, and you're suddenly facing a mountain to climb. There has to be games where the front players can say to the back guys, look, if we score 1 today, it should be enough. And it's not being the case.
Yeah, I think that's fair. As you say, for that goal that we conceded, masters of our own downfall, there are so many chances to avoid that happening. It's amateurish level, and I think the real annoyance, David, about the goals that we're conceding, it's all coming from mistakes and lack of concentration and switching off and dealing with things that are, you know, we should be doing easy. The opening goal against Aberdeen during the week as well was another prime example of that. Now, when you can turn that around and win 6-1, that's great. But as we've seen a few times this season, that's not always going to be the case. We should be able to win games 1-0. I think particularly at Ibrox, if we take a 1-0 lead, that 90% of the time should be enough. And
last season it was. Exactly. We went a goal up, forget it.
Exactly. And I think if you're an attacker as well, you shouldn't need to be thinking, right, we need to go out here and score minimum 2 goals today to get the win. We have got the best defence in the league, the best goalkeepers, both of them in our team. We should be solid at the back. That should be the foundation of our success, as it was last season. We were as good as we were last season because we were so tight to the back, and at the odd time that the attackers would get through, as we had the best goalkeeper in Scotland there to bail us out. This is just another really disappointing goal to lose, and it's very much as yesterday ended up being pleasing in the end. This losing concentration, conceding goals, starting the early games poorly, starting games generally poorly, and losing these sloppy goals is very much a thing.
Colin, it gets mentioned every time he makes a mistake, but he's making quite a few mistakes. Conor Goldson are referring to, of course, here. And of course, the thing that gets mentioned all the time is contract. And it's one of those difficult situations because he's clearly not going out and thinking contract when he's playing football. And he clearly isn't going out and trying to make errors. But when you have a player who was so immense last year and his game has been this season littered with errors, people are going to say, well, okay, what's different? And it makes sense that something as major as a contract situation will get mentioned a lot. Now, one of the questions I get a lot is, well, what's happening with it? And it's very simple. It's like most contract negotiations. He wants one thing, Rangers want to pay another, and there's a gap. And either they meet in the middle or they're too far apart, in which case he'll go somewhere else. So that's the situation. It's nothing complex. There's no great mystery to it. He's asking for an amount that Rangers don't want to pay. And it will continue until either he cuts out the mistakes or he leaves. And that's, whether that's right or wrong, I can't see how that situation doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Speculation is going to come from this contract debate and what we do know and what we don't know about it. We know that the club does their stuff privately. We know that they're not going to talk about ongoing contract negotiations. Ideally, you don't know anything about the new contracts until they're signed, sealed and delivered, and you get an article on the website. But this Conor Goldson situation has come into the kind of general consensus because it is getting so close to time now. We're now into November. The 1st of January, he could legitimately start looking at Bosmans and signing pre-contract agreements. He has been asked about it a couple of times, and he's always had this kind of stock answer, hasn't he, that no, there's no communication, there's nothing going on, I'm just concentrating on my football. I don't believe that, and I think he has to say that in some ways, but I think that adds to some of the speculation as well. I think the other thing, David, though, that apart from the contract issue, which is potentially having a bit of an impact on his performance, is all through Gerrard's tenure, he's always spoke about having 4 strong centre-halves that he can use, and he has rotated a fair bit, and at the moment he's just not able to do that. So Conor Goldson's also in this situation where he's got all the contract stuff going on in his head. He's also got the idea in his head that there's not much he can do at the minute to get dropped. He's not going to come out of the team because the options are him and Balogun and Jack Simpson at the minute, because we've obviously lost Philip Hallander, we've let Nico Katic go out on loan. Jack Simpson hasn't really set the hair fire and nobody's calling for him to come into the team. So he's got that probably going on as well, and that could lead to a bit of complacency as well, and that he's not really get any risk of dropping out of the team or getting maybe punished for his performance, so to speak, as well. So there's a number of factors all combining here, but I think the main one is he's just a little bit out of form and he needs to try and find it quickly.
Yeah, it is these daft individual errors as opposed to anything structural, and that must be the huge frustrating thing for the manager, because it's not a case of, we mentioned this in our post-match yesterday, if you watch that Manchester United-Liverpool game, yeah, there's individual errors, but it's structural, right from when Liverpool pass the ball out from the back. United's, their press is all over the place, the guys aren't in the right position. It's not that with Rangers. It's literally just people making basic errors in places that you shouldn't make basic errors. So, look, let's not lie. I think as a support, we were all incredibly pissed off when that Motherwell goal went in. And I think that, given the week we'd all had, probably our tempers were a little frayed. But cometh the hour, cometh the men, as it would turn out. First of all, James Tavernier. Now, Tav gets stick. More stick, I think, than probably somebody who's done for the club what he has deserves. It's just always going to be that way. There are simply fans who just don't take to him for whatever reason. And I think there are other fans, and I can understand this being of my generation, that it doesn't quite compute with us that a right back's first job isn't defending, and that's the way it is in modern football with the formation that we play. But never doubt his leadership. He never hides. He never does. And yesterday was, I thought, my 30th birthday as well. When, don't know about you, but when I turned 30, I was hiding in a drunken pile of tears somewhere. But he just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck and went, nope. And again, like at Love Street, thrillingly, Rangers not only get the equaliser before half-time, but turn the game completely around. The first goal, Colin, the ball in from Bassey's a very, very good one, but my goodness, that finish outside of the boot, keeping your head over the ball to make sure that it doesn't fly away over the stand, making sure you get a good connection. That's not easy when you're taking the ball on a volley like that. Everything in what you do, the movement, the position, and the target and the strike, all of it has to be perfect for that goal to go in. All of it was.
Yeah, it's one of these ones that ball could fall to you and I 500 times, David, and we might get it on target once.
Yeah, we're happy to kick it.
I'm missing it 400 times. I'm not making contact.
Happy to hit it.
Yeah, he combined every one of those skills that you just mentioned perfectly and left the keeper with absolutely no chance. And listen, Tav scored some fantastic goals for us over the years, and I put that one right up there. Not just in terms of just how good a goal it was, in terms of what it meant for us about getting us back into the game and recovering from the earlier era to get himself up the park and in a position to do that. It was absolutely sensational. And it's our captain quite often, and it goes back to what you said about being a right back and some people struggling to understand that they don't just defend. He's a right back that attacks.
I'm probably one of them, because you have to admit, or you have to understand that for us, we grew up, for 40 years, and it was, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and it's a cultural shift. It's and you accept it sometimes, but then other times it's so entrenched in your mind that you're sort of like, well, where the hell is the right back? Because that's what we grew up with.
And you're used to your playmaker and your main threat being an attacking central midfielder or a winger or something like that, and ours is our right back. He's our playmaker. Everything we do starts with him, goes through him. He's the guy that's up right in the 18-yard box. He's making the crosses. He's making the assists. What's that, 99 assists he's now got for the club and 65 goals from right back. The stats are phenomenal, and he's one of these guys, and there's a few of these that happen at Rangers over the years. He's one of these guys that I don't think that the general support will appreciate fully until he's gone, and you try to replace him, and you try and bring somebody else in that can do that. We're very lucky in that we've got Nathan Patterson sitting ready to come in at right back when needed. And as great as Nathan Patterson is, and he's really good defending, and he's starting to do some stuff going forward as well, we've seen it for Scotland, he's not ready to start replicating the numbers that Tav gets us yet. And it's just phenomenal from the guy. And it doesn't let him off from a defensive point of view when these mistakes happen, because when you're a defender and you make a mistake, it can be crucial. It's one of those specific, like goalkeeper and defender, you make a mistake more often than not, it can lead to a goal, and that's a bad thing that people remember in the game, whereas a missed pass in midfield or a missed shot up front isn't so vital. But Tav just gets you out of jail so many times and does so much attacking that you do sometimes have to just concede the fact that defensively he's going to do an okay job, but not a great one. But by God, he'll make up for it going forward, and that's what he's done for us this week.
Yeah, and moments after that, Dave, he picks an absolutely delicious ball. I love everything about this goal because it's a terrific ball in, and there's something very beautiful about a cross that's just placed perfectly onto someone's head. But see when that someone runs in, leaps like a salmon, and bullets the bloody thing past the keeper. See, initially, I thought it's kind of straight to the goalie, maybe, after, celebrating and running around the room. I'm watching it back and I think, well, maybe the keeper could have done a wee bit better because it is, central. It's not either corner. No, he couldn't. I take it back. My apologies to Liam Kelly because it's past him. It's past him before he can react. He just caught that flush. It's a terrific header. That's somebody that can head the ball because everything about it, again, from the timing of the run, the fact that he manages to lose three giants in there. That's not easy. And then when they come in to challenge him, the timing of the leap, he's over the ball when he meets it. But oh man, he just sunk the head in it, Glasgow Kiss style, and it just explodes past the goalie. Just a terrific bit of play. I hate Lee header.
This is our full-back play at its very best, David, here. I think we are, when it comes from our crosses and wide and from the full-back areas, it's much more effective when everything's on movement, when Tav's delivering the cross on the run, when, the attacking players make movement. I think things fall down too often when it's, a run down the channel, stop, touch, pass, get it back, another touch, then you stick it in. See, when everyone's just in flow and it's going in movement, this is just absolutely perfect. This goal to me was very reminiscent of Roof's header against Celtic last season. I know that came in for the left, but it's very, very similar. Great ball in by Tavernier, but as you said, you can't take it away from the header from Sakala as well. Well, let's remember, Motherwell have, a monster-sized defence.
Big guys who can head the ball in the air.
Yeah, that's, very much their bread and butter. So the ball into the box has to be perfect, and the execution from the attacker has to be perfect as well. And Sakala just meets this one absolutely perfectly. Not somebody, you'd think this is a header, but that's him at this point. He scored 2 goals for Rangers, both being headers against Motherwell. And absolutely all credit to him. He takes it absolutely perfectly. Beautiful goal and just perfect. And I think after the second goal goes in, you look at the half in reflection, and you're a bit more calm now because you're ahead, and you can sit and say, we actually throughout
played well,
never played bad that half, apart from one stupid mistake that led to them opening the scoring.
Yeah, and one of the words we heard a lot last season, and it was deserved, was relentless. The team were driven, they just kept going, and we haven't seen that in a full game this season. We just haven't. We've seen patches, and we've seen some good halves and some good spells, but we haven't seen it for 90 minutes. Not the case on Sunday. Right from the start of the second half, Rangers just battered Motherwell. Motherwell couldn't get their own half for that second half. And Fashion Sakala did something that, Colin, I want to talk about in a wider context. He gets the ball out wide, cuts in, low shot, wee bit a lot of deflection. Who cares? We'll take it. But to me, the important thing about that was, one, doing something slightly different, which was driving in and trying and having the shot, which we haven't been doing enough of lately. But 2, I thought yesterday as a team we were shooting more. And I thought our variation yesterday was absolutely terrific, that we were shooting more, which means Motherwell have to get set for that. They can't just get set for a cross because somebody has to go and be the blocker. We were also trying to play through them through the centre, which again is very, Joe Aribo was excellent and the quick feet. So that was a different challenge for them. The reason I say this is, if you are just doing the same thing, and we've all seen it when Rangers do this, which is what Dave just described there, which is touch back, cross, out, repeat. Teams just set for that. They don't need to move. They can just all take their position and set for that. But when there are 4 or 5 different areas of attack, right, well, do I wait here for a header? Do I go and close him down? But what if he has a shot? Well, what if he tries a 1-2? And that's when you get things like deflections, because people aren't quite where they should be to stop it. And that's what I liked about this goal. To me, this was a reward for mixing it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Was it the saying, basketball, you miss every shot you don't take. So cutting in and taking a shot.
That's ice hockey. That was Wayne Gretzky said that, by the way.
I knew it was one of the daft American ones.
It was one of those sports that nobody actually plays. Yeah.
Well done for outing yourself there, David. But yeah, it's one of those ones where you see that variation, you see the different chances, the different things that we're trying to do, and you are going to get that little bit of luck. One of them is going to work, and you're right, it's making the defender second guess. They don't know what's coming next. Not only were we taking shots from distance yesterday, which we've not been great at, the stats at the end of the game showed you that I think all but one of our shots yesterday was actually on target. So that's really impressive as well, that when you are mixing up the shooting like that, you're not just ballooning things over and putting things wide, you're actually still seeing the technique and the skill there and actually get stuff on target and challenge the keeper. We mixed up the corners a little bit, which led to one of the goals as well later on. And like you said, we mixed up the crossing, and that's what we should do in every single game. It's been so frustrating at times this season, sat at Ibrox, sometimes trying to get back into a game or trying to get in front of a game, and we are just seeing that midfield sideways pass down the wing, about a couple of 1-2s, and then a cross, and then the big defenders head it away, and you start again. And we've seen a lot of that so far this season. It's not great to watch, but most importantly, it's not been effective for us. And yesterday, we saw what can be effective, what we can do. And from a fan's point of view, from a player point of view, and from the manager's point of view, everybody seemed absolutely delighted with that performance yesterday. I've never seen the team and the manager so happy since we won 55. So if that's what doing those things does, can we see more of it, please?
Absolutely. And then, Dave, I think it's fair to say that from that moment on, all of us were, please get a hat trick, because he's just such a likeable wee lad. But we'll come back to that in a minute. Glenn Kamara then getting in the scoring. And I was, again, something Colin mentioned there, the reaction from the rest of the players when he lashed that one in was superb. Some complaints from greeting old Sky about a couple of things. Firstly, Stephen O'Donnell's yellow cards. Dave, you're our referee, our qualified referee here tonight. I thought they looked like two bookings. The first one's Carl's away, cynical pullback. It's one of those ones defenders do and know a yellow's coming, I think. The second one, sliding, stretching for the ball, doesn't get it, takes out the man who was past him. It's a yellow card. Nobody's saying that the guy should be banned for 6 games, but it's another yellow and he should have been off the park. And then the complaint about that Sakala was in front of the goalkeeper. I didn't think he's not directly in his eye line of the ball. He's in his vision, but our visions are quite wide things. And he is trying to get out the way. I just thought that they were both correct decisions.
Yeah, firstly, the yellow cards are both clear as day yellow cards, so you get 2 of them. That makes a red. Last time I checked, I'll need to consult my laws of the game, but I think that was a good decision with the referee. You know, even I spoke to my wee mate who works at Motherwell yesterday, and even he said he had no idea what O'Donnell was doing. O'Donnell didn't make any complaints after the second challenge. He knew exactly what he'd done. You know,
of course he did.
If you didn't know any difference, you'd think he meant it, because it was the only outcome that was going to be that was going to come from that, a second booking and being away. The Kamara goal. Listen, I'll be honest. At first, I thought quite possibly that could have been offside. I think when you look at it from different angles and it slows it down, if you're taking this from a VR point of view, I'm not really sure that it would get overturned, because, as you say, David, where he is in the line of the goalkeeper's sight, I don't think he's affecting the play, which is the important part, and I don't think at any point he is blocking the keeper's view of the shot. So, yeah, in my opinion, it was two correct decisions. If the flag did go up for the fourth goal at the time, I could understood why.
Yeah, I personally, I just think that Kelly makes a bit of an arse of it. And he's a good goalkeeper, but he made an arse of that one. It was a decent strike by Glenn Kamara. But you would still want your keeper saving it, but he didn't, and we were all delighted. And then it happened, Colin. Probably the most popular goal that we've scored this season, with the exception of Philip Hellander's header, and that was Stephen Davis, who was tremendous, and the manager, who knows a thing or two about midfielders, called it a masterclass, and you won't hear me arguing. He stepped forward, played this gorgeous little kind of chipped ball in. Sakala does brilliantly, because firstly he keeps himself on side, a criticism that has been levelled at him, and I think on occasion to deserve since he arrived, but he gets in there, and then the finish is excellent. And it's one of these ones that I don't think he'll get enough credit for the finish, because it's so easy to just put that into the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is in the right position and he's taking up a lot of space. The only place you can score is to get it right back into the other corner, just in off the post. That's the only place you can put it to score, and he does that. And look, you know, players have days where everything goes for them, but there was a lot of skill involved in that goal as well.
There was a load of skill. The delivery, first of all, from Stephen Davis was just excellent. Sakala to beat the offside trap with his run was great. Imagine being that guy yesterday on a hat trick, and you see Stephen Davis playing a ball in like that, and you still manage to stay on side. It's a real skill. And the ball comes at a tight angle. You fancy the keeper at that angle more often than not, but what he did really well was he sort of manipulated his body to get the shot away. He put it very, very wide of the keeper, almost right to the other side of the goal, which isn't easy to do from that angle, and left the keeper without much chance. It probably isn't getting as much praise and respect as his goal deserves, David, just because it was so fast. The ball came in, he hit it straight away, and it was a goal, and everybody was just delighted with the boy getting a hat trick. We'll talk about his character and his personality, I'm sure, in the next 5 minutes or so. Yeah,
let's the manager spoke about it. You could see it. I think it's been clear anyway in interviews, but you could see what his teammates think of him. His interview afterwards even had jaded Scottish football pundits beaming. And you know, not James McFadden's a Motherwell fan. I don't think Alex Neil is a big Rangers man, but absolutely beaming, because there is something just charming and infectious. Alex Neil spoke about innocence, and there was a joy to him yesterday that I thought we looked very stale against Aberdeen, and I thought he brought back a little bit of effervescence, and I thought he brought back a little bit of just that enjoyment of play. This is great. I'm playing football. Give me the ball. I'm going to go and try and score. And that enthusiasm, I think it sparked off something in everybody else. And it doesn't hurt when you get 3 goals. But there are guys who bond with the support because of their personality, and I mean their personality in their play. I think their real personality can shine through in the way that they play football. And Dave, I think he's one of them.
I think as fans, something that really grinds at us is when you see a player or a pundit who makes out that working in football is such a chore. When, if it was us, if we were playing for Rangers yesterday, we'd be bounced about that park going, fuck, I'm playing for Rangers today.
Yeah, fans would play football the way Fashion Sakala does.
Yeah, and that was it. I think that's exactly, the guy's always got a smile on his face. He's clearly delighted to be here. When you see him at the end of the game going up to the Rangers end with the ball over his head, just absolutely loving it. I'm smiling thinking about it. And now the guy has just got that infectious personality. He was so not just charming, but humble and polite during his interview, Dave. And you can tell it means a lot to him. And yeah, he's just, how can you hate this guy? How can you?
He's a guy that's, when you think about the modern game and all the players that play in it nowadays, you've got almost these robots, and they're robots because they've had to be, because they've came through academies and they've been so disciplined their whole life from 6, 7, 8 years of age to get where they need to be. So it's not a criticism to say they're robots, but that's the way they've had to become. You've then got other players that won't speak to their teammates on the pitch without covering their mouth in case MD, God forbid, hears what they're saying or manages to lip read what they're doing. When you've got a guy like him that just plays with a smile on his face, he loves every minute of it. It's absolutely infectious, and he's got a real opportunity that if he manages to keep doing what he did yesterday and being effective on the pitch, he could become a real, I don't even want to say a cult hero, just a real hero in terms of what he can offer, because our game in particular is short of characters. We don't have a lot of them, and this guy has got everything in abundance. You just can't dislike him, like David says. A really, really likeable guy that I think people are going to watch, they're going to enjoy. And David, I mean, you get to go to the press conferences. How much are you looking forward to the next time that Fashion Sakala's the player?
I've been lucky enough to talk to him once, and it's brilliant. Exactly. It's just fantastic, because you come away from the press conference with the exact same feeling we all came away from the game yesterday. That's a God-given thing. There are people who can do that, who can light up a room, and that's just in life, and he's one of them. But I also think, from a football point of view, that a new player at Rangers, particularly a forward, needs a moment, a big game, early or relatively early in his Rangers career, because it just gives the fans something to believe in and to hold on to, and to say, actually, he's a good player. Look, we know he's a good player. Remember what he did that day then. And that gives you the time to settle. Otherwise, you're always behind the 8 ball, trying to catch up, trying to just impress, and it can get a bit desperate. He's had that now, and he just looked great yesterday. Now, it was one of those days where everything went right for him. There will be days where it's the opposite. But now I think he's established in the mind of Rangers players, this is what I can do. These are the levels I can hit. And I go back to, although he didn't capitalise on it, Jordan Jones did something similar when he first arrived when we played Midtjylland.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Rangers fans weren't sure, didn't fancy him. After that, he won everybody over. He then spectacularly managed to throw it all away. I don't think Fashion Sakala will, and I'm hopeful that will, be the spur. Got the 6 in injury time. Bit of goal stealing from Kamar Roof as he took Jack Simpson's goal off him. A header from Jack Simpson that looked as though it was going in. I never played at a high level, but I did play him when I did. I'm a forward. I score goals. If the ball's near me and near the goal, I'm taking it. End of story. You won't get judged, Mr. Central Defender, on how many goals you've scored. I will. So I don't blame him for that. And 6-1. A big weekend, Dave, because we'd heard a lot from the world's mouthiest support all week that they were going to, and they should have, absolutely, taken the lead at the top of the table on Saturday. They blew it. They blew it in spectacularly comedic fashion. And it's the psychology of it, because I've seen this so many times. I go back. Tommy Burns of Celtic was what this was described as, but then Rangers were doing it the first couple of seasons under Gerrard.
Yeah.
When you're chasing somebody, and remember, we won the league with 25 points last year. They are chasing from a way back. That you get this opportunity, or these opportunities, to put some psychological pressure on. It's a 50-50 thing, because if you do it, it's brilliant, because it improves your own belief and it puts down the opposition. But when you don't do it, that flips round totally, and you boost the opposition and you put doubts in your own mind. And that's what Celtic did. And for Rangers then to deliver that performance at that moment and that result, a weekend that pretty much everyone who wasn't a Rangers fan had said, at best, we're going to come out of this 2 points in the lead, but we might not. We're 4 points clear. By common consent, we haven't played anyone near our best this season up until yesterday. It is exciting in a sense that if Rangers remember that yesterday is how they play football, then, my goodness, we have difficult fixtures, but play like that? No, we don't.
Listen, when I came out of Ibrox on Wednesday, furious as a lot of us were. Colin seen me after the game. My face was like fizz, and his was very much similar as well. If you were to hold a gun to my head and say, who will be top of the league come the end of playing Sunday, frankly, I'd probably said Celtic, because I don't think there was anything from us to suggest in the last few weeks that we were going to put in the kind of performance we did on Sunday. And there it was Saturday, and I don't watch them because I don't enjoy it, but I'm checking my phone sporadically. It's half time, it's 0-0. 60 minutes, it's 0-0. 75 minutes, it's 0-0. And then also full time,
waiting on the inevitable heartbreak, as we all were.
Yeah, they'll still win, etc. But you see it, and firstly you get that that pump going. Yes, I've dropped points, and then you actually dig into it a wee bit more, and you actually see just how terrible they are. I'm going to have to give a tip of the hat to Martin Ramsey here, who summed up in Twitter. It says, all swash and buckle till it actually matters. And I think that, right now sums it up for us to go out on Sunday and put in the performance that we did, and to look like the real Rangers, to look like the Rangers that we know we're capable of. It feels like a massive turning point of a weekend. It feels like the kind of weekend, if and when we go on to win the league title this year, we'll look back and say that's where it started.
That happened last year, I think, the 5-1 at Motherwell, and obviously the 3-1 at Ibrox in December. But the 5-1, I thought, sparked us something spectacular last year, and hopefully it will be the same. One swallow doesn't make a summer, etc. Colin, and congratulations to me for the first time ever in Heart and Hand and getting the word swallow in without making an offensive joke. But it is true that the sentiments behind that cliche, that we are still aware that a reversion to what we've been seeing is going to drag us back into a title race that doesn't have to be a tight title race, in my opinion.
No, it really doesn't. If we do not lift title 56 this season, it will be by our own hand, I think, rather than being outdone by a better side. I think we've seen a full round of fixtures now. We're into the second round. Every team's played each other. We still have the best squad. I believe we've still got the best manager. We should win this title. And the display that we saw yesterday is a title winning display. What we need it to become, though, is, like you say, at that turning point, that kick-off point, where we go on one of those runs where we win 8, 9, 10 games in a row, like we did at points last season, and really put a marker down. And there is no better time to do it. November and December, schedule-wise, is crazy. And games are going to come at us thick and fast, both domestically and European. And if we can go on a run during that time, it takes us towards the end of the year, we'll be in real good place. I think going into that winter break, and I'm full of confidence. I think after yesterday, I've always believed we would win this league because of what we did last season and how we're pretty much the same squad of players. There's the ability to do it was always there, but the performances have shaken me a little bit in terms of I've not been able to understand what I'm watching at times this season, because it is those same players playing the so-called same system. They're not suddenly playing against a better bunch of players domestically. It's just something hasn't clicked and it's not been right. Yesterday, that was the team that won us 55. It was the spirit that won us 55. It was the performances that won us 55. and we've got a real opportunity to build on that. And like you say, it is win swallow and all that, but we've got an opportunity on Thursday, European-wise, to put ourselves in a great position in that competition, and then go into this another international break with a victory at the weekend.
Before that, though, Dave, a massive, massive game for our European aspirations. We go to Denmark to play Brondby. There are games that are, must not lose. I'm not sure this fits into that category. I said it before the first game at Ibrox. I think to have any serious hope of getting out of this group, we need to win this match. And otherwise, we'll still have 2 games to go, one at home. But I'm not, a draw is obviously better than a defeat. But I think we need the win here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the momentum with us now. If we win our next 2 games, we go through. So, and that's with the caveat of Leon taking full points against Sparta again. But you say it's a game that we need to win. I think it's a game we should be winning as well, David. I never seen anything from Brondby the other week that, leads me to think that there's much there for us to worry about. They'll cause us too many troubles. That does come with the point when they're going to play them in their own ground, and you would expect them to be better. But I think they are quite comfortably the worst team in this group. I'd say, from what I've seen the other week, possibly the worst team we've played in the group stages in the Europa League under Steven Gerrard. It's a big game for us, but it's a challenge that should be, nowhere near too much for us. I fully expect us to get the 3 points on Thursday.
I'll stay with you, Dave, because other matches this weekend took place. The B team.
Do I need to again?
Yeah, you do. The B team beat Berwick Rangers 1-0. An excellent result for the B team, who just continue to impress. Dave, for those of you who don't know, Dave is a huge advocate and follower of the women's game in Scotland, and particularly, obviously, the Rangers women's team. And he hosts, along with Laura, the Rangers women's team show on Heart and Hand on Patreon. He tripped off yesterday to watch Rangers take on Celtic in the SWPL Cup quarter-final. And Rangers' dismal Old Firm record in the women's game continued as they lost 1-0 to a second-half strike. That means that since the major investment in the team, they've yet to beat Celtic. I believe, Dave, out of the 8 matches against Celtic and the other full-time big team in that division, Glasgow City, Rangers have drawn 1, lost 7. I don't know if
so it's 1 win and 7 defeats now.
1 win, 7 defeats. Sorry. Now, without being, trying to play an expert, because I'm not on the women's game, but I do follow it. I do watch it. In that division, there are 3 teams going for success, really, and that's not being disrespectful to the rest. They're part-time. They don't have the resources. These are full-time teams with great facilities, investment. They're the ones who expect to do well, and there are 2 Women's Champions League qualifying places to be had. Rangers didn't get one last season, didn't win a trophy. This season, obviously, that's 1 trophy gone. And for any Rangers team to be losing constantly against Celtic is never a good sign. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of frustration, I noticed, from people who follow the women's team closely yesterday, because it seems to be the same old.
It's very much seen this film before. That's now, since turning professional and investing 1.7 million into our women's programme, we have played Celtic 4 times, lost 4 times consecutively, and scored 1 goal. Where yesterday was really disappointing was one thing: the training centre was packed. It was a great crowd there. It was a crowd that, when I was working for the club, David, covering the women's team, it was a kind of crowd that I would tell you is never going to happen. So to go out there on Sunday, and there were so many failings again. Once again, we didn't play with the intensity that an Old Firm game demands of you. We never played this game like an Old Firm game. Celtic did. We're a much better team than Celtic. We play much better football. We never got our game going. We were dragged down by Celtic. Same thing happened against Glasgow City. They dragged us down, made the game stuffy and difficult, and they managed to steal a point from it the other week. We dominated this game for the large majority of it. Missed, again, some really clear-cut chances. At the same time, never created enough chances. And we absolutely sold a goal, a daisy cutter from about 25, 30 yards out, that the goalkeeper should be dealing with all day long. and she throws it into her own net, and I was so pissed off because I've seen this before. I was talking to some of the guys that cover the women's game after it, and there is an element of bad luck, but that's now 7 out of 8 games we've lost.
Yeah, you can't be unlucky 7 out of 8 games.
That can only go to a certain extent. I was even talking to one of the Celtic coaches yesterday that used to work for Rangers, and even he said to me, Malky must have done something, and Mark Dawson must have done something in a past life for all this. But end of the day, this isn't good enough for any Rangers team. And I'm saying with the crowd before, when I used to work for the club, they'd ask us, what can we do to get people in? And I'd say the only way we're ever going to get a crowd for the women's team is if it's successful. And we've got a crowd there, a crowd that far exceeds my expectations. But if this team doesn't win anything again, if it finishes third again, can't beat Glasgow City, can't beat Celtic, doesn't win any of the cups, doesn't qualify for the Champions League, that crowd's not going to maintain. It's simple as that. There is no point in this thing for the investment we've made in it if it's just to do it for the sake of doing it, to make Rangers look good. If it's a real proper Rangers team, it has to win.
Certainly the vibe from the people who make the decisions to put the money in is not that they're doing it for fun. No, they want success. They want a return.
It's a significant investment, and it needs to be shown in trophies. As simple as that. If you want to be taken seriously as a proper Rangers team, you need to win.
Really is that simple. And Colin is, from those of us who aren't as knowledgeable or passionate about the women's team as Dave is, but do follow and want Rangers to do well, it's a lot easier to get behind the Rangers team that are beating Celtic.
Yeah. It absolutely is, and it's wonderful to hear that passion from Dave and how much he cares about it. And the end goal is you want more people to have that passion and to feel as strongly about it as Dave does, and it is only going to happen through success. If Rangers had the league winning Pokemon Go team or Twiddly, whatever, any sort of sport game I can think of, I'd throw my full support behind it and want to see it. To go and watch a game where they're losing 7 out of 8 of the big matches, that does turn people off, because that's not what you expect from Rangers. If that was the senior team with that sort of record, a lot of questions would be getting asked and changes would be getting demanded to happen. So I'm not close enough to the women's game to be saying that is what should happen or anything, but they need to start winning, they need to start making performances and showing up when it counts. Winning these matches 7-8-0 against teams with no budget and non-professional players and stuff doesn't cut the mustard for me. It's these two 100%. Games, these two teams they need to start turning it on against. And until they do, those crowds that they got yesterday, fantastic, but that is going to be the limit, and they're not going to attract more people. If anything, they're going to lose people.
Correct. Right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I thoroughly enjoyed our discussion. Always more fun when we've won. I'm off to Denmark this week, folks, so we'll be full coverage from Copenhagen over on Heart and Hand and Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Heart and Hand. That's patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where from just $1.99 per month, you'll get up to 5 shows every single day on everything to do with Rangers and a lot more besides. So my thanks to our executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Myers, and my thanks to my two guests, first of all, Colin McMillan.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, guys. Enjoy your trip, David.
Thank you. And David Marshall.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a good one, David.
No, you don't mean that. He does, you don't. No, tell the truth. I mean, you're like, you bastard. You're going, I'm not. Be honest.
Do you know what? Fuck you. There you are.
Yeah, well, there you go. No, that's what I want. Part of getting to go is that, you don't, and this hurts you, and that makes me feel better. So
I can't gallivant like you. I've got responsibilities and Wayne's.
Why have you got responsibilities in Wayne's?
Let's not go into that.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. I mean, you played a part in that, right? That's all I'm saying. But, right, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Friday with Heart and Hand Extra. Until then, moan the Rangers. Speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, I just want to take a few seconds out of the show to talk about NordVPN. I've always wanted to do that, by the way, hey, let's take a moment to talk about something important. But this is quite important. It's about internet security, and it's about NordVPN, who are an official partner of Rangers, giving you the ability to be anywhere in the world and, more importantly, protected when you're online. If, like me, you run your life from your phone or you live on your laptop, then you're going to find yourself at times using things like public Wi-Fi, whether it be on a train or in a coffee shop or a football stadium or whatever, and you're also going to be using 4, maybe 5G, whatever, and these are places that get targeted by hackers. They want your personal information, they want your passwords, they want access to things that they should not get access to, and NordVPN can stop them from getting it. And you can get an offer if you go to NordVPN. Go to NordVPN /Heart and Hand and enter in the code Rangers, and you will get a discount on their services. But see, to be honest, it's worth getting anyway, just to make sure you're protected, just to make sure that nobody's getting towards things that they shouldn't get towards. And I know it can be a bit of a pain in the neck where you go, oh, I'll get round to it, but trust me, you don't want to be phoning your bank up to say, why is my account being emptied? You don't want to have to be changing password after password after password. Go to nordvpn.com and you'll get security, you'll get that peace of mind, and you'll know that everything that you hold close to your heart stays there.